Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever the fuck you're watching this episode. Another episode of Backyard Blitz brought to you by Backyard Sports. Got Gary Freeze in the building. What's going on, my man?
Oh, we're hanging in there. We got conference championships in the books, and one more one more game that matters left in the NFL season. Nobody really cares about Pro Bowl weekend, but uh, Super Bowl Sunday, a couple weeks away.
Super Bowl Sunday, just 2 weeks away, the final game. Huge Sunday to go over indeed, senior. And, you know, I was telling Gary a little bit before the show, this is a somber one for us. I mean, especially because, like, we're the two people that rode with the teams, all the way to the end. Finally got some belief out of Gary. I think
That was
Buffalo was your pick all
not an
season,
easy
though.
task. Yeah.
And senior, condolences to you as well. It's tough.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough week to kind of go over, but I do want to start. I do want to start just by just diving into the Commanders game. That's a little bit more of a commanding lead. That was, 23-55. Andy takes the easy dub there. And Washington just not prepared for the caliber offense, the caliber of play that we got out of. I mean, Saquon Barkley goes for 3, Jalen Hurts goes for a few. This was a very tough game for Washington.
Yeah, and it really boiled down to the turnovers. You can't turn the ball over 3 times. You can't put the ball on the ground. I think we ended up turning over, 4 or 5 times total in the game because a couple of desperation throws at the end for Jaden Daniels. But, you can't turn the ball over 3 times on fumbles in the conference championship game. The calling card of every team that was in conference championship games this weekend was that they hadn't turned the ball over at all coming into this past Sunday. And Washington puts the ball on the turf twice early. And we had kind of weathered it a little bit, but it was still kind of slipping away. And then the third fumble happens, and I'm gonna make a quick comment. I promise I'm not gonna dwell too much on officiating from this past weekend. But we watched Philadelphia in wild card weekend against Green Bay. We watched the Skycam show that Nixon had recovered the football with 2 hands, clear as day. Easy visual. It's right there. 2 hands on the ball. And then a scrum ensues, and Philly comes out with the ball, and they give Philly the ball, and they replay it and see it, and they call it because the scrum and yada yada. Well, Washington ends up with a fumble. Eckler fumbled it, and a scrum ensued. And yeah, you can see where Philly kind of fell on the ball, but Washington came out with the ball. And we call it the other way. I just there's no consistency in officiating. It's brutal. It ends up a fucking 30-point loss. But the truth is, those 3 fumbles were the difference in this game. Jaden Daniels did what he does. He moved the ball up and down the field. The turnovers were killer. And you can't especially when you're the underdog, you're the less talented team. Philly's got a loaded roster, and you can't overcome turnovers like that. And that's the sad truth of it. And Philly took advantage. Every single time they got a turnover, I think they scored 28 points off turnovers in this game. Saquon Barkley hit, again, another couple home runs against us. He's a stud. The offensive line is great. And if you're not disciplined against that running game, first carry of the game, he took it to the house on us. And 3, 4, 5 missed tackles. Guys just weren't prepared, didn't bring their big boy pads. It's disappointing, but I'm going to remain positive because it was a great fucking ride, man. We weren't supposed to win 5 games, let alone make the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game, let alone win 2 playoff games and make the conference championship. Just a magical season. We've got our quarterback. We still got Terry. We've got an improving defense that needs a lot of help. We've got a lot of cap room. We've got the second most cap room this offseason. So in Adam Peters, we trust, and we're going to trust that going forward. Hopefully Marshawn Lattimore with a full offseason is better next year. But hats off to Philly, man. Philly they're the better team. honestly, across the board, there's probably one player from Washington that starts for Philly, and it's Jaden Daniels. Outside of that, rostered spot by spot, I don't see a lot of places where Washington has a starting player over really anybody on that Philly squad. So hats off to them. Howie Roseman has been aggressive. He's trying to keep this window open for the Super Bowl for them, and he's done a damn good job. And they move on, and they're gonna take on the Chiefs, who we're gonna talk about here in just a moment.
Yeah, definitely a bummer. Obviously, but you have no choice but to ride with 5 here because he is the truth.
Yeah.
I like the idea that Cliff's maybe sticking around here. That may be good for them. He's already turned down a few offers in interviews. And good on him. It sounds like he's also betting on that horse as well, right? He's seeing something that, obviously anybody would be crazy to want to turn down working with. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, he pulled out of the last opening in the NFL. The Saints is the last open head coaching job. He pulled out. So sounds like we're gonna have Cliff back next year, which is great because he and Jaden obviously have a good relationship. And we didn't see the second half swoon that we see a lot with Cliff Kingsbury, especially when he was at Arizona. We didn't see that this year, so it seems like they were able to kind of adjust after they had a midseason where they lost a couple games in a row, but they were able to adjust and get things figured out. Jaden got healthy, he had that rib kind of nick midseason, and they figured it out and stayed hot when it mattered. Won 7 in a row down the stretch, got to the conference championship game. I couldn't be happier with the season. I mean, I could if we went and won the Super Bowl, but like the expectations coming into the year, this is just an unbelievable overachievement.
100%. Yeah, hell of a season for Washington, and Philly moves on. We're getting a wonderful chance as sports fans to see history repeat itself as Kansas City yet again takes down the Buffalo Bills 29-32. Andy, again, Victory Island.
Andy was trying to go reverse psychology and got both of them right.
I knew he jinxed it. He jinxed it.
Yeah, you can't cheat fate, right?
So I knew it was over. I knew there wasn't a chance. So, yeah, and this is a tough one, man. This is just tough. Hate to see it.
Yeah, I promised that I'm not going to dwell too much on officiating, but I'm going to bring it up again because we watch these games, and I remember a time when people would complain about the Patriots and the way that they seemingly got calls, they got good balances, yada, yada, yada. Several of them who are Chiefs fans were front and center complaining about how the Patriots were officiated. And those same Chiefs fans will now try to deny it, and we don't get favorable calls. We don't this, we don't that. We're just a better team, yada, yada, yada. No, we all have eyes, and we all can see the game. I've told people this. I tell Cowboys fans this. I used to tell Patriots fans this. I tell Chiefs fans this. I tell Philly fans this because they're the darling of the NFC right now. Why deny it? Just fucking embrace it. The league is on your side. Fucking embrace it. You're winning games. You're getting favorable calls in games. Who gives a shit? It's not like it's a point of pride that you've got to stand up for we don't get favorable calls. Fuck you. We all watch the game. We can see it. Just shut the fuck up and say, yep, we do. Move on. It's not like it diminishes the fact that you're in the Super Bowl. You're still in the Super Bowl with a chance to three-peat. So what if people are talking about other shit that really in the grand scheme doesn't matter because you're going to get a Lombardi? However, I am going to tell you that this game, about 15 of the points that the fucking Chiefs scored were direct results of officiating mishaps. The Bills should have had 7 more at least points. The 4th and 1 spot is a fucking embarrassing black eye for the league. They don't care, though. They want Taylor Swift in the Super Bowl. They want Patrick Mahomes and Bundle Ruski in the Super Bowl. That's what they want, and they got it. Every opportunity they've had, they just They either bungle it or intentionally fucking do it. It doesn't matter how it happens. It happens. Dalton Kincaid got a first down earlier in the game that got marked short when they got stopped on a 4th and 1 earlier in the game. Oh, by the way, on that 4th and 1, Chris Jones is in the backfield with Josh Allen before the snap. We all can see it. We all see it happen. It is so ridiculous, but it's what the NFL wants. And then the 4th and 1 with Josh Allen, the one ref on the far side who has a view of the play, who can see where the ball disappears behind the defender, is marking the ball beyond the first down. And the other ref comes in who has no view of the play, can't see anything other than Josh Allen's back and a bundle of human beings, comes in and is trying to mark it short, and he forces the other guy to mirror him and take his spot. And then we get a replay where you can clearly see the ball disappear behind Chris Jones's helmet, and his helmet's beyond the line to gain. We don't have to be rocket scientists to know that that's a first down. Instead, the ball gets turned over and Chiefs go out, score a touchdown. Oh, go fucking figure. It is what it is, man. All that aside, all the ranting and raving about the officiating aside, Buffalo had a lot of opportunities to win this game, and they gave it away. Dalton Kincaid had the layup of his life to extend a drive after Josh Allen was Superman again and put the ball in a place where probably only one human being on this planet could have put it. It's probably Josh Allen and nobody else that could have gotten that ball to where he got it to with that pressure bearing down on him. And Dalton Kincaid is looking at the defender who's 8 yards away from him. You see the still shot where he drops it. His eyes are up and the ball is down. Bro, that's the biggest moment of your career. You watch that motherfucker into your arms, you catch it, and you stay on the fucking ground. Because that's a first down and it extends the drive. And I am 99.9% confident that Josh Allen drives them down and scores the game-winning touchdown if Dalton Kincaid catches that ball. So, yes, we see a lot of officiating in Chiefs games. I told you before we started the show, the biggest thing I'm tired of is just being lied to, basically, and just feeling like I need to take a shower after these games. The NFL, it's blatant, it's obvious, it happens all the time. It's whatever. The Bills had fucking opportunities to win this game, and that's somebody at some point throughout Josh Allen's career, somebody is going to have to make a play for him after all of what he's done for this fucking team. Kincaid couldn't catch the ball. The 13 seconds, they couldn't make a fucking stop with no, like, Kansas City had almost no chance of getting a field goal. They go down and get a field goal. The overtime game, the rule changed immediately after that game. Like, Josh Allen is the most just haunted athlete in modern sports.
Oh man, it's so perpetual, like it's just never ending. It's every year we go through this cycle where we seem to think, okay, this is it. Now is the chance. And then on the other side, we've been saying about Kansas City, they've never been more beatable.
Mm-hmm. I have a group chat with a bunch of Bills fans. And one dude said it one time, and it stuck with me. And it's so fucking true. Nothing bad ever happens to the Chiefs. Nothing. They don't get bad bounces. They don't get bad calls. They don't get just mistakes, any of it. Nothing bad ever happens to the Chiefs. Ever.
I mean, I can't disagree. I can't think of any, Ben Martin, if you're in the chat, by all means, I would love to get a fact check here from a Chiefs fan, by all means.
The Chiefs will bring up the offsides on Kadarius Toney. Dude was a yard offside. Easy call, easy day. Never checked with the official. They're going to talk about the roughing the passer to Brady, yada, yada, yada. Let's talk about the 150 roughing the passers that have happened to fucking Mahomes that aren't. Like, he's flopping out of bounds and all that shit. Offsides again on defense that ends up negating the interception that Brady threw. Dude was lined up over a half-yard offside. Nothing bad ever happens to the Chiefs. Nothing. Self-inflicted wounds are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the bad bounce. I'm talking about the missed call. Nothing bad ever happens to the Chiefs.
Yeah. I challenge any Chiefs fan to refute.
That's how you win 3 out of 5 Super Bowls, maybe 4 out of 6. You gotta have that fucking good behind you. Yeah, that's the thing. It's you gotta put them away, and you gotta really just put them away, because if it's close, we know a whistle here, a flag there, something's gonna change it. They're gonna get a lucky bounce. They're gonna block a field goal, whatever. Got to put them away. That's what I told our buddy Nilo, big Eagles fan. I said, man, you're gonna have to beat them by 2 scores. You don't want it to be a 1-score game.
Yeah, don't leave it close.
Nope. Don't leave any fucking chance.
Give me Irish Patty over Jalen Hurts in a close game.
Yeah, and that's fine. Pat hasn't been good this year. He's been better in the playoffs, but it's literally just the Chiefs are just like so. It's like death taxes, and the Chiefs are gonna find a way. Like, it's crazy. It's a very strange. They're a very vulnerable dynasty, but they just continue to fucking win games, man, in different ways.
Haven't we spoken this way about all the dynasties though? We talked about this back when Tom was in New England, about like you can never count them out. We talked about that in Aaron's heyday.
Can't bet against them.
Can't bet against them.
Can't bet against them.
So despite how beatable they look,
yeah, we're celebrating 30 points in 2 games in a row. Yep, for sure. Yep.
Travis Kelce's decided to be a football player again, and now, of course, we got T Swizzy in the box.
Yeah, we're at the point. We're at the point with Kelce. It's like he's just going to take September through December off, and then he's going to get hot for 2 weeks at the end of the season, and then he's going to be good in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and it's just who he is. And I didn't think Buffalo had a very good defensive approach either.
Only Tony Romo had taken a page out of that fucking book, instead of doing the polar opposite of just being good until October.
Yeah. I didn't think the Bills had a great game plan against the Chiefs either defensively. They didn't have much spying on Mahomes. He actually was able to run the ball quite a bit against them, which we don't normally see designed runs for Kansas City. That told me just how much Kansas City knew they were in for a battle in this game. But it was also like Kelce was just open all the time, just little dink, dunk, run 5 yards, turn around, catch the ball, get 6 yards after the catch, that sort of thing. It was a lot of that. And I know Buffalo's defense isn't super deep. They've dealt with a lot of injuries, and they had Christian Benford go out in this game. He's one of their better cover corners. But I just didn't think that McDermott had a very good game plan to deal with Kansas City and that offense. And you can't have Xavier Worthy. Everybody wants to talk about, oh, they traded him, Xavier Worthy. They traded him, Xavier Worthy, blah, 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 blah. He wasn't like just lining up and beating guys. It was all gadget stuff. And that's what Andy Reid is so good at, is those gadget guys and getting them open. He did it with Tony in the Super Bowl when Tony had his only good game of his career. He's done it with Worthy. He used to get Tyreek Hill so open that like you couldn't throw a football to hit the other fucking defenders that were anywhere near him, that sort of thing. Yeah, Benford going out early. That's a scary one too. It's a lot like the Tua situation, because he had a concussion last week and he cleared protocol, but the hit he took wasn't like a devastating impact, and he was out. So I question the protocol in that situation with Benford, mostly just because of like the bad reaction that he had from a hit that just, yes, he got hit helmet to helmet, but we see a lot more violent hits than that on a weekly basis, and guys oftentimes don't even miss time. He was out, and he looked glassed and glazed over on the cart when they were carting him off the field. So that's a scary one. I hope for his sake, being that the offseason's coming, he's able to slowly treat it and get back to normal for next year. But those are the ones that are scary, man. Those head injuries, especially that short of a turnaround from having a concussion the week before. But yeah, the other thing with Buffalo too in this game is Josh Allen was erratic as fuck early in this game. He settled in eventually, but they just didn't get out the gate very well. And then they chased it down and had an opportunity. Obviously, the 4th and 1 kind of took that opportunity away from him. But yeah, Josh wasn't great early in this game. He seemed like he was maybe a little too amped, and that you don't get that from Kansas City because they've been there a million times and they're just all business. The first 15 are scripted. Andy Reid is maybe the best offensive mind we've ever seen. I don't know how debatable that is anymore, but there may be people out there that Bill Walsh or some of those guys, but that first 15 that they had, they were fucking greased up and ready to go. If Mahomes had mishandled that ball and fumbled, this might have been a bit of a different first half, but that kept Buffalo kind of within touch while Josh settled in.
Yeah, I feel like the fumble obviously was pretty costly. I'm so impressed with how similar their numbers are. You know, like I think Josh had more attempts, but ultimately like the yardage is about the same. Completions, you know, had a really good amount of ball movement on the passing side. They had the same amount of rush yards, just about, give or take a few yards. So like, it's funny how closely calibered these two guys are. Yeah. And poor Josh, man, Kansas City just continues to live rent free in that kid's head.
Listen, Josh Allen,
they are the boogeyman for him.
Josh Allen leads NFL history in playoff touchdown to interception ratio, total touchdowns to turnover ratio, QBR, like all these fucking stats. I think he's got like the most total touchdowns of any active player, that sort of thing. Yet he still can't get over the hump. The 4 games that they have played Mahomes in the playoffs, he has like, it's like 18 touchdowns, total touchdowns, and no interceptions against them. And they're fucking 0-4. 0-4. He's just so haunted against this team. It doesn't matter how the game goes, the 13-second game, bless you. The overtime game and all of it, like the Bass missing the game-tying field goal last year, like he's just haunted, man. And I think they're going to get over the hump. I just don't know when. It's tough. I thought this year was the year. I thought we were seeing, very evenly matched teams for sure. I thought we were seeing the best version of Josh Allen. I still believe we did see the best version of Josh Allen after the departure of Stephon Diggs. It just didn't work, man. Kincaid drops that ball, and it's just a comedy of fucking errors that just seem to continue to haunt this organization, man, all the way back to the days of like wide right, and it's tough. I'm excited. I want Buffalo to get over the hump. I want guys like my dad and others who have been Buffalo Bills fans forever, for life, to get one. But much like your Phoenix Suns and your Houston Rockets and your Seattle Supersonics during the Jordan era, they're basically being held hostage by Mahomes.
Yep.
The Rockets, it took Jordan retiring for them to get their championships in the 90s. It took him going and playing baseball for them to get their championships in the 90s.
Yeah. Well said. Well, I think we've ripped these Band-Aids off enough. So I'll continue to do so by getting to the most important part of our episode. And so for those of you guys that have just tuned in for the first time, we appreciate you guys watching. We are a veteran-owned podcast founded by myself and Gary here. And we dedicate every episode to a fallen service member in our Folds of Honor sponsored segment we call our Salute to Service. This episode is going to be dedicated to Marine Lance Corporal Billy D. Brixey Jr., who passed away January 27th, 2006 during Operation Enduring Freedom. He was 21 years old from Faraday, Louisiana, and he was assigned to 1st Battalion, 3rd Marine Regiment, 3rd Marine Division, 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force in K-Bay, Hawaii, attached to 3rd Marine Logistics Group, 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force, Okinawa, Japan. And he passed away in Landstuhl Medical Center, Germany, from wounds sustained from an IED while traveling in a convoy in Afghanistan. Lance Corporal Billy D. Brixey Jr. We have the watch. Wow.
Yeah, they did play well against the Ravens, and they kind of squatted on the lead late in that game, and you get the Andrews thing. But yeah, I mean, you saw a more complete team this year running the ball. Josh was very effective with his arm, very efficient, very safe. Kept, protected the ball, kept his turnovers down. And that was, those were the things that I thought would be part of the winning formula against the Chiefs. But just, again, it just one of those things, man. Getting over that hump. Not this year.
Well, we've managed to cover it all. We've covered the regular season. We've covered the postseason under the conference championships. And now we have one last game left, and we're not giving you the picks this week because we'll save that for next week, because otherwise what the hell are we going to talk about next week?
Not the Pro
Bowl. But no, we don't do that here, okay? No, I do kind of want to reflect on the year. And this has been a different year of football. Everything to the way the playoffs have turned out, to the extra game, a little bit longer season. So, kind of good and bad takeaways from the season in general. I mean, it seems like there's always some new type of battle with officiating every year. Some teams were overperformed, some were underwhelming. So, what are your overall good and bads from the 2024 season?
Gary? Yeah, I'll start on the good side, man. I finally care about football again in the nation's capital. I shouldn't say it so harshly, because I've always cared. I've just always been very jaded by this team. But hats off to Dan Quinn, hats off to Adam Peters, hats off to everybody in the front line of the organization. Ben Johnson wanted to do what I wanted to do last year. Apparently, he wanted to keep Sam Howell and draft and build around him. And it sounds like Adam Peters and company were very well convinced that they wanted to take Jaden Daniels even before approaching Ben Johnson about the possibility of hiring him as the head coach. So they were ready to bring in a new quarterback. They were ready to build around a young guy, and it worked out, man. Dan Quinn has changed his approach. He's also changed the culture here in Washington immediately. And when you've got a quarterback, you got it figured out. You've got a chance, and it's unbelievable, to be watching meaningful football late in January again. I haven't been able to do that since I was too young to even understand what the fuck I was doing, right? Like, when you're 8 years old and your team's won a Super Bowl twice in your life already, like, oh, we just fucking win all the time. And no, it's hard to win in the NFL. And for 34 years, we proved that it's very difficult to win in the NFL. Through all the crazy years, the Jim Zorn run, the Spurrier run, the Ron Rivera debacle, Gibbs' second tenure that didn't go super well, Shanahan and all the drama around RG3, Jim, not Jim, Jim Zorn, but just all the nonsense that we had going on for 34 fucking years. It's so great to be past that. The Bruce Allen era, the just fucking Dan Snyder hiring his buddies from the fucking yacht club to run the team, the big Albert Hainsworth, and just all the bad. I could fucking sit here for 2 hours and tell you all the bad shit that's happened over the last 30, 40 years. But you know how you fucking wash all that away? You start winning fucking football games. And people want to complain about the name and all this other fucking shit. And I've been steadfast from the beginning when we changed the name. I don't care if it's the football team. I don't care if it's the Commanders. I don't care if it's the fucking Mud Slugs. Win fucking football games. I don't give a shit what the name is. And that's what they were able to do this year. Scary Terry had a breakout campaign. Everybody knows who he is now. I don't have to yell at people to tell them how good Scary Terry is anymore. Everybody knows it. Jaden is just unbelievable. His poise and his ability to fire under pressure. And man, we got room to grow. And I'm going to finish with Dan Quinn said it best. And I love this tagline. We have found our identity, but we have not found our ceiling. So I'm excited about this offseason and what we can build going into next season.
Fuck yeah, Gary. Fuck yeah. My positive, unfortunately, dude, I have nothing positive to say about my team. However, my positive feedback is actually for a pair of Dans by the name of Dan Quinn. What he's done since leaving the Cowboys and what he's done with Washington, Jaden Daniels, everything with the Washington Commanders has been fucking incredible to watch. Regardless of the rival, just as a football fan, that shit has been dope. That's been one of my favorites to watch. Jaden Daniels, incredible. I feel like it's nice to really be cognizant of the history that we're watching this year. And so taking a little bit to appreciate that. And then Dan Campbell, just the continued fucking bite your kneecaps mentality. We're biting ankles, we're biting fucking kneecaps, we're getting it done all the way to the conference championship. And I have no doubt that it's going to be, I'm looking forward to this exact matchup next year in the NFC. I really am. Like, I can't wait for the Eagles to fizzle the fuck out so that we can have the Commanders and the Lions.
You and me both.
Yeah, man. So those two teams in general have kind of restored my faith in the NFC because I've been so disgusted with the Eagles and the Niners and the other teams that we've had appear there. It's nice to have some fresh face. Yeah. So why don't we jump into the maybe probably the easiest things to get off of our chest, which is what is the things that we dislike the most about this season?
I'll tell you, man, it hurts me because I've got a cousin who's a big Jets fan, but like football in New York City or the New York City surrounding area or New Jersey or whatever you want to call it, the Giants and the Jets are just dumpster fires. And as an NFC East fan, like it doesn't bother me so much about the Giants, but like I said, I got a cousin who's a big Jets fan, and it hurts to see how poorly run that franchise is. Aaron Rodgers just like dragging them through the mud. And then you got on the NFC, on the other side, the NFC side of the city, the Giants and Joe Shane's fucking 13-year-old son is telling him how to run the franchise better than he can run it. Like basically like everybody's trying to tell him how can we justify not signing Saquon? And he just says, fucking 18 million for a running back. Well, that running back just went and almost broke Eric Dickerson's record. If the Eagles had played him in week 18, he probably would have broken Eric Dickerson's record. He's probably going to break Eric Dickerson's record in the Super Bowl for total yards, including the playoffs. He's in the Super Bowl, and the Giants won I think 4 games this year, 3 or 4 games this year. Just football in New York City in general, it's miserable. And those are the franchises right now that I look at and I'm like, man, these are 2 franchises that are in big fucking trouble because there just doesn't seem to be a light at the end of the tunnel. Giants don't have a quarterback. They don't really have a superstar they can lean on. Malik Neighbors feels like he might be that guy if he can get a quarterback around him, but he had some bad drops this year. He can be electric, but you got to have a guy that can get him the ball in meaningful situations. The defense is good, not great. The Jets are just, it's not good. The walls are caving in. Aaron Glenn is going there, and maybe he can start to turn around the culture there, but they've got to figure out who the fuck is going to be under center for them with an offense that they've kind of gone all in to try to get some talent around Aaron Rodgers, and it just didn't work. But wow, what a tragedy New York, not real New York football is. Because I'd like to remind everybody out there, the only team that actually plays in the state of New York is the Buffalo Bills.
Talk your shit. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry for your loss, literally. That's well said. I did want to actually throw another in there just in the last note of positivity. Baker Mayfield.
Oh yeah.
He's another one that just, I should hate him. He's an Okie, but love him. Fucking love it. Just
Salted
doing your thing,
baby.
Fuck you to Cleveland. I mean, go out there and do your thing, kiddo.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yep. Absolutely. He's fun.
My biggest disappointment in the season has to be the Dallas Cowboys. Everything about this. Every fucking thing about this. I didn't expect to walk out of this coaching situation thinking we should have kept McCarthy. Like I didn't expect it to be that bad. I expected maybe somebody that would be another stepping stone. This is the Tom Herman to Charlie Strong move or vice versa. Like this is, it's kind of that stepping stone. We haven't figured out who our guy is. Whatever the fuck this is, I'm out. Like I think I've never really like stood hard with either team. I've always definitely been more of a Cowboys fan than a Texans fan, but I think I might no longer be a Cowboys fan. Like until whatever the fuck is happening now stops, I think I'm just a CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans Houston Texans fan. And that's okay. That's a cause I can get behind. I may need to get a Jaden Daniels jersey. I don't know. I may have to just like be a free agent in the fan side and just still stay loyal to the Texans. At least that way my roots are there. I'm just so at a loss for my sense of identity as an NFL fan because I can no longer stand behind this bullshit.
Yeah, man. And I told my brother this the other day, like, as somebody who went through it for 34 fucking years, it sucks. It sucks to have the owner be the reason that your team is just as much of a fucking problem as it is, because you can't do anything about it. You can't fire the owner. You can't, fucking replace. You can't trade the owner away. You can't do anything to overcome an owner that is so hands-on, an owner that is so meddling with everything that goes on. And the decisions he makes are decisions that you can feel that he's just making these decisions because he just wants to stay in the limelight. He doesn't care about the product on the field. He just will never admit he's made a mistake. He's never willing to admit anybody's smarter than him. And I'm telling you, I've told a couple of, I think I even said it on the show once, but I've told a couple people this, like, Jerry Jones broke up a dynasty when he fired Jimmy Johnson. He broke up a dynasty that they might have been the first team to three-peat. They might have been the first team to win win 5 Super Bowls in a decade. They might have been the greatest team ever, because that team that they had put together was unbelievable. The triplets that they had get all the praise and all the talk, but they had maybe the best offensive line that's ever been assembled. Alvin Harper was very, very good as a number 2 wide receiver. Jay Novacek was a very good receiving back. Daryl Johnston was phenomenal as a fullback, dual threat fullback. But also they had a fucking awesome defense. So for all of the talk about, the Chiefs dynasty and all that, they might be chasing fucking 4 in a row if Jerry Jones hadn't fired Jimmy Johnson, because they went and won a Super Bowl with Barry Switzer. If anybody can tell me what success Barry Switzer had outside of that one season, I challenge you to do so, because he didn't fucking have any. So he was at Oklahoma and they were a powerhouse, but that's a story for another time, because he kind of inherited like the greatest college football program of that era. But this, I feel for you, man, because as somebody who just experienced it when Dan Snyder was basically forced to sell the team, it's such a freeing feeling to just be out from under that, but also to have a guy who cares about the product on the field more than he cares about cameras in front of his face. It's a crazy change of atmosphere. And I hope for all you Cowboys fans out there, as much as I hate the Dallas Cowboys, I have a soft spot for my brother and you and some of the other Cowboys fans that are out there. Fuck, man, we got to find a way to get Jerry to sell the fucking team. We need an email leak or something to get Jerry out of there.
No.
Jesus.
No. We know what's needed. Okay. We fucking, all right. Listen, I didn't think about it until just now, as you were kind of like, offering condolences, which thank you. And I know that you can all but relate, having recently gone through this with the Schneider mess. So I can't wait to feel that sense of relief, because this is smothering me as a fan. And so I feel like the only thing I can compare this to is that I want that relief of knowing that Osama bin Laden is dead.
Someone get SEAL Team 6 on the phone.
I need Dev Grew and a stealth chopper. Fucking stat bud.
Where's Bradley Cooper when you need him?
Yeah, for sure. I think he's on the cycle with Zach Galifianakis on this one, so it's but yeah, so just a bummer in general. Like it just, I didn't have a ton of hope for Dallas to begin with this year, but this really was way worse than I even imagined.
Yeah.
And then the way that's ended just in the last 96 hours is, I don't think as a fan I've ever wanted to start a shotgun more than I have in the last week.
Yeah.
Somehow in the offseason, we've been out of contention for weeks, and now it's gotten bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian Schottenheimer, that's almost an embarrassing hire. That's kind of the way I look at it. Like, he's a guy who's been run out of every single place he's been for underperforming. And that's who you're going to promote internally as your head coach. Like, that's tough. That's tough.
There's no reasoning for it. So I've tried to like figure it out in my head. Like, what is it that Jerry saw? It's not there.
Nope. He saw a guy he could keep his thumb on still. That's all it is. Sucks. Sucks, man. Sucks.
What a shame. What a shame.
Sucks.
Well, kind of a terrible note to kind of end the show on, but anything else you wanted to cover?
We'll end with one more positive. Just to kind of bring the energy up before we sign off, because we gotta get back to talking about this Super Bowl nobody wanted next week. So we'll end on a positive note tonight.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Bryce Young, man, because he could have easily, when he got benched this year, he could have easily just said, well, that's it. And just folded up shop, and maybe we never hear from him again. Maybe he ends up selling used cars somewhere and that, or selling insurance or whatever ex-pro athletes do. But dude, he got in the lab and he waited for his opportunity to get back in the game. And from the moment he got back in to the starting role under center for the Carolina Panthers, He's been a very, very different quarterback, and they've been a very, very different offense. If they get a defense that can make a fucking stop next year, they might win some games and surprise some people, and they might compete in that NFC South that, still feels pretty gettable because that was a tight race down the stretch between the Bucks and the Falcons, and like, you might see something like that again next year. Shout out Bryce Young, man. I love to see a guy who can persevere, a guy who can get back to, figuring out his craft. And by the end of the season, wildly enough, by the end of the season, there were people saying, like, maybe the Texans didn't get the best quarterback in last year's draft, right? So I'm not here to tell you that Bryce Young is better than CJ Stroud. I am here to tell you that Bryce Young is better than Bryce Young was before he got benched, and it's night and day. And that young man put in some fucking work after he got benched, and he was a very, very different quarterback down the stretch. And I think arrow up down there in the Queen City for the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young, and get some weapons around him on offense, but man, fix that defense, because they were giving up, I think, 34 and a half, I think, down the stretch. Not good. But yeah, figure out some pieces around him, because they might have their quarterback.
I've got for sure at least one more name. I had another one and then it just disappeared on me, but one more name to add to the good notes here in the end of the year. Teddy Bridgewater, of course, we talked about it. State champ. Got a chance to got back into the league as well. Come on.
Took some snaps.
Love that. Took snaps.
Took some snaps in a playoff game after winning a high school state championship. Teddy two gloves. For sure. Tip of the cap, tip of the cap.
Yeah, Bo Nix end of the year run there. Yeah. Really kind of having a strong season.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the other one that I wanted to mention.
There were some people down the stretch arguing that Bo Nix was the rookie of the year. That's how good a year he had as a rookie. That never resonated with me, just because of the team he went to versus the team that Jaden went to. But there was some real talk, and they made real arguments, and he had a great year. And I'll shout him out, because I didn't think Bo Nix had a chance to be a good NFL quarterback. I think he landed in the perfect spot with Sean Payton. But I'm interested to see how that goes going forward, because they've got a really, really good defense. If they get a little consistency on offense, might see them compete with the Chiefs. The AFC West might get real scary here if Jim Harbaugh continues to build out there with the Chargers, and the Broncos continue to build on what they had this year with Bo Nix.
Definitely. And shout out to Tyreek Hill, who is slowly becoming an miniature AB.
Oh, he's a mess, dude. My last shout out. I talked about Jaden, you talked about Bo Nix, but I'm going to shout out this entire rookie class in terms of quarterbacks, especially, but like rookie class in general. Ladd McConkey had a huge year out there for the Chargers. Brock Bowers broke tight end records as a rookie. He led all rookies in catches, not just rookie tight ends. I think he set the actual rookie catch record, if I'm not, maybe Malik Neighbors got it back at the end of the season, but those two, Malik Neighbors was awesome. Just an incredible rookie class. Joe Alt, guy I was huge on, had a huge PFF year in terms of his ranking as an offensive lineman. I think he only allowed 3 pressures all year. And just this rookie class in general, because we saw Caleb Williams obviously started all the games for Chicago. He had an up and down year, but you still see the flashes. And if Ben Johnson comes in and turns that around, he's got potential to be great. Jaden Daniels, what he did. JJ McCarthy, unfortunately, we didn't get to see him because of the injury. Bo Nix had a great year, but we saw Michael Penix get in at the end of the year, and arrow is pointing fucking way up in Atlanta because he looks like he is going to be able to run that offense in a very, very effective manner. He can make all the throws. His ability to move within and outside of the pocket and extend plays is a big difference for them in that offense with all those athletes that they have around him.
Definitely. Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, Worthy had a good year as well. Big time gadget player for Kansas City. They use him. They use his skill set. He's so fast, quick. Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Robert, and shout out everybody in the chat too. Appreciate all the activity that we've gotten throughout the year, participation. A
Definitely.
couple new followers that have jumped in and stuff. So really appreciate that. Appreciate you guys.
But show. Well, good show, my dude. Anything else we need to say to put a button on this bad boy, or to put a ribbon on this bad boy?
Super Sunday preview next week. Hope to see you all there, and we'll talk about the game that only 2 fan bases wanted to see.
That's right. We'll be here next week to talk about it. Be here next week. Otherwise, just check back on the channel. You can always just watch an old one. It's fine. It's on our Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. It's kind of all over the place. We're everywhere. You can find us. We appreciate you guys tuning in. All of us here at Backyard Sports appreciate the shit out of you guys. We'll see you next week for our Super Bowl preview. Hopefully we can have Andy with us next week. Backyard Blitz brought to you by Backyard Sports. See you guys next week.